Joining us right now is Texas Congressman Michael Burgess. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us. What's your take on all of this?
Well, certainly I trust my senators to evaluate the information that will be placed in front of them this morning and make the right choice. But I will also tell you what I'm hearing on the ground here in Texas is people are pretty ready for this process to move along. The Senate needs to do its work. They need to have a vote.
Well, what about the idea that, some of these tactics, throwing out due process, really destroying this man's reputation before we even knew what was true and what wasn't? Is this going to play out in the midterm elections from your standpoint?
Well, for both Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, this whole process has been astonishingly cruel, and you do worry, are you going to be able to get good people to stand for a confirmation process in the future if this is the standard of what basically Senate Democrats are going to hold?
Yeah.
It has been exquisitely uncomfortable several times over the past couple of weeks, and really unnecessary. This could have been done in a much more compassionate way, for Dr. Ford.
Right, but so what I'm asking you is, do you think people notice this, and are they going to vote and rally up for the Republicans come November 6th for the midterm elections? This is probably one of the most consequential midterm elections we've seen in a long time, and leading up to this whole circus around Kavanaugh, it was widely expected that the House would lose the majority. Was that your expectation, and has your expectation changed?
My expectation has not changed because I never expected the Republicans to lose the majority.
Okay.
But listening to all of the news that's come across the wire this morning, it sounds as if that degree of confidence perhaps could be maybe a little bit higher this morning than it was a week ago.
I see.
So yes, I think now certainly in Texas, man, people are red hot. They want this process concluded, they want the vote taken, and they want Justice Kavanaugh confirmed.
And by all aspects, we are expecting that to take place. Let me get your take on immigration from your standpoint, coming from Texas. A federal judge is now temporarily blocking plans from the Trump administration that would end a special federal program which allows hundreds of thousands of immigrants to legally live and work in the United States. This coming as the head of the Customs and Border Protection Agency is working to double the amount of fencing along the U.S. border with Mexico. Congressman, you represent the people of Texas. What would you like to see, and your thoughts on this development?
Well, first off, I will tell you, in August I traveled to Central America, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua, and Honduras, to see for myself firsthand what are the drivers, because we have so many children coming across the border, the unaccompanied minors. I know people are upset about separations, but just the sheer volume of unaccompanied children coming across the border is becoming very difficult to deal with, and it is claiming resources that need to go in other places. My question has been, would we be better served to deduct from our foreign those countries to care for those children that are now under our care, under law, in the Office of Refugee Resettlement? The other thing, on the issue of the temporary protected status, I mean, yes, it is temporary. It has been going on for a long time. That needs to be done carefully, because you do have a lot of people who are going to be affected by that. But by nature, that was a temporary protected status, and at some point it was going to conclude. So I don't disagree with the administration in their approach there. The lawsuit has been filed. Yes, it will have to work its way through the courts, as these things always do.
Yeah.
But I expect them to come to a fair decision.
It's interesting. It's an interesting recommendation that you just made, and you're saying maybe we should be looking at lowering the amount of aid we give to some of these countries, using that money to care for the children who've come here from those countries. Do I have that right?
Yes, I actually introduced a bill into our sense of Congress just before we left. I was going to do it on the appropriations process, but as you know, we did a continuing resolution for the State Department appropriations. Look, just a quick back-of-the-envelope calculation: for every child that's in our custody in one of these ORR facilities, it's about $500 a day. Excuse me. They've been staying about a little over 30 days. So I proposed a $15,000 per child reduction of the foreign aid going to those countries. You would, if they're from Honduras, they're from El Salvador, fine, that $15,000 comes off the foreign aid appropriation for that country. And the reason I brought this up is because you have to make it important to the leaders of those countries.
That's right.
I mean, those countries' leaders have to feel that they are invested in their children.
Yeah, this is a good idea, because it immediately will wake up the leadership of the country to start doing something about their people trying to get to America illegally, and maybe try to help in the legal immigration movement.
Yes, and look, nothing but compassion for the people that are feeling that they've got to leave their country. But at the same time, can we possibly work on fixing the problems that are causing them to leave, and stop this recycling of people time and time again across the Mexican desert to the lower Rio Grande Valley? It just makes no sense that we keep doing the same thing.
And given the fact that you are right there on the border in Texas, how would you characterize the situation right now in terms of illegal immigration?
Well, bear in mind, I'm on I'm 400 miles away from the Rio Grande River. Texas is a big state, but it affects all aspects of the state. And the good news is the economy of the country is doing well.
Right.
The economy of our state is doing extremely well. When you think of where we were 10 years ago, 10 years ago, just right now, I mean, it is startling that we have recovered to the extent we have.
Yeah, it really is.
If we're ever going to be able to get a handle on this, now's the time to do it with our economy doing so well.
Congressman, real quick on health care, the average cost of employer health coverage offered to workers is topping nearly $20,000. That's just for a family plan this year, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. You practiced medicine for almost 3 decades before coming to Congress. Your thoughts on health care in America and how to fix it?
Well, obviously that bill is far too high. In fact, I spent yesterday morning speaking to a constituent who's in exactly that situation. She's not so much worried about pre-existing conditions. She's worried about, how am I going to pay for the stuff you're requiring me to buy? I think some of the good news is some of the things the Trump administration has done with the limited duration plans, association health plans, are making perhaps some less expensive options available to people. We need to do a lot more in this country with tort reform and medical liability reform. It is one of the things that's a main driver of this. And then finally, people need to be able to feel they're invested in their health. And so I've been a big believer in health savings accounts for years and years. That's what I had when I was in medical practice. I think we could do a lot more to make those more available, more affordable, and more meaningful for patients.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much.
Right, thank you.
Covered a lot of ground. Congressman Michael Burgess there.